Hi, welcome back to Lakeside Quilt Making Arts. Thank you for being here. We're going to change our Fridays up to a little bit different kind of content. I'm going to make it about our friends, our fabulously talented friends, the people that inspire us, the people whose brain we just want to climb inside of, or that person whose every word touches your soul, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on the phone, through text, or through a book. So I'll let you know who's been inspiring me this week. And when I share those people with you, maybe they will be inspiring you as well. That would be my hope. Okay, so let's do a quick recap on what all we've accomplished this week. So our Slow Stitch Sunday was about getting the Quilt Show's Pick a Petal January block done. I thought I was right on the money with its size. And then I went to the forum to proudly show my block. Well, you know what I found out? Someone else there was talking about how their block had shrunk. I'm like, did my block shrink? Because I didn't really look at the pattern to see what it was supposed to be. I just looked at it was a uniform size, And then lo and behold, it was supposed to be 16 and a half. I believe that's the number. And I was 15 and a half. I tried not to get bent out of shape about it, try not to overstress about it. But I kept on thinking, how did I mess that up? I just don't understand. And because I guess a little, on every single one of them, I took in a few strands too much. And I thought, well, that kind of error would have been probably more lopsided kind of an error and not an all over error. And then I realized after a day or two that when I printed my pattern, I did not worry about getting the scale box. There's always a 1-inch scale box on patterns like that you download and then print off yourself. You're supposed to print it to where you're doing it at actual size. And that square then is supposed to be 1 inch. Well, I knew that my square was not 1 inch, but for the life of me, I was having a difficult time figuring out how to get it to size up, to be actual size. I was having problems with my printer. My computer wouldn't print at all. I was trying to print from my phone. I was just out of options. So I said, well, okay, if I print all of my patterns consistently to this not actual size, then my overall quilt will just be a little smaller. Well, I hope that works out because that's the plan I went with. However, I started thinking, okay, what do I do? How do I fix this if I need to? Well, if I need to, I can always size up that block. I can add some to the background. Only problem is I don't have enough of the background fabric. So today I went sleuthing. I went to the quilt store and I took a little bitty piece of that background fabric with me. I'll show it to you on screen. Okay, so it looks like this, but in a navy blue. Okay, so we couldn't find that. And she was looking for it and looking for it and looking for it. And then I told her that I had gotten it as a fat eighth. And she just handed me my sample right back. She goes, we don't have it then. If anything is showing up as a fat eighth lying around, that means they don't have any more of that fabric. But as she and I were standing in the middle of the store discussing it, I spotted this fat quarter inside one of their baskets. I said, well, that's it. It's in the same family. And I noticed that on this version of the fat quarter, it had a selvage. So I was able to take my selvage, take it apart and find out that the name of it is Wander Lane, and it gave a style number. So I was able to go online, look that up, and find a quilt store who had it in stock, and I bought it, and it's being shipped to me. So now I'm going to have a whole yard of that fabric, and I can intersperse it elsewhere inside the quilts. And then if I need to size up that block, I'll just add a little bit of framing around it and just call it good. It'll be great. It won't be a problem whatsoever. So I feel good about that. A little bit of, yeah, I did good. Okay, the next thing we did was our Moda Monday. And on that one, I feel like I'm so behind the 8 ball on that. I've got my fabrics, went to Unclaimed Baggage, and I've got all these shirts, and I'm ready to get those cut up and be ready to have something to show you on Monday. I want to at least get started on one of the blocks because I think we've released the 4th block now 4 weeks in a row, and I only have 3 of them printed out. Oh, take that back. I think I have 4 printed out, and that may be up to 5. I'll find out after I record this video how far behind I am. I think they've released their 5th pattern. Oh, dear me. I would have been further along, but for the Tuesday video, for our Tuesday check, we discussed ergonomics. Of course, we always want to tap into that where we can, but we also discussed the additional cabinet that I built and put in here. And that took some time. Normally the things I'm doing for the Tuesday videos, I don't intend for them to take so much of my off time. So I didn't get to work on the Moda patterns, but my cabinet underneath here has been so helpful, and it's not even fully utilized yet. Then on Wednesday, we worked on, voila, this Comfort in the Waiting quilt. All of our little plus signs are looking nice and happy. You know what those look like to me? They look like a floor mat that would be used, that would be sold with a Hot Wheels. So this, a little kid would be sitting on the floor with their little Hot Wheels, having their little cars meeting at the intersection. I just love it. I love how colorful it is, and it's coming along nicely. Well, we got it framed out with an inner sashing. You can barely see it because it's against the white. It's against the white design board, but it's there. So now I'm at the point of needing to work on the borders, the outer border, getting those all pieced together, and I'm going to make the blocks that get interspersed along beside the rail fence. And we discussed that. We've got a plan on working out our border there, and if you need a refresher, then I invite you to go back to looking at that video. And then for Thursday, yesterday, our Thursday therapy, working on my pet project, which is, oh, look at how the sun is on that. How pretty is that? So this is the Mars quilt, which has been renamed Boldly Go. So my pet projects are kind of like my therapy is where, my creative therapy is where I really get to spread my wings a little bit. This channel clearly is a learn with me, a beginner quilter's fun journey. And this is where I get to just think outside the box a little bit. I'm doing all these quilt longs and trying to learn things the proper way while also expanding my thought processes. All right, so, and that leads us up to today, where we're having this video and doing our recap, which we just did, and we're going to now talk about our friends. This is the exciting part. So one of the things I wanted to start doing is I want to start doing interviews. I don't know how often or how frequently. I want to see inside people's studios. I want to see inside their mind. I want to see how they're thinking through things, and what gets them excited and what motivates them to get inside their studio, and which quilts they give away and who they give their quilts away to, and what type of work excites them, what their journey was, you know, where they got the passion from, all those things. I love talking to people about things that they are passionate about, as long as I can keep it at my level and I can understand it. So that's one of the things I want to do, is I want to, you know, figure out a way to touch into my physical community here, you know, around me, and start there. And then maybe we can grow into, you know, the general YouTube community and talking to people from wherever. Because, you know, just like, you know, I wouldn't know about Alex Anderson if it wasn't for YouTube. You know, that's just a beautiful thing. And I love that I know her. I don't know her, but I know of her. She doesn't know me from Adam, of course. But I want to help to create that with more people. Somebody who does something similar is, and I was just watching her. I want to say Kate with JustGetitDoneQuilts. I may have her first name wrong, and if so, I apologize. But Kate rings a bell. Kate Brown, maybe? I think that's her name. We'll see. I could be wrong, and if so, I apologize. We're going to do a little quick rundown of what's motivating and inspiring me this week. So we'll do a what am I reading and what am I watching? And then, of course, my quilt store that I went into today. Let me just start off with that. I'm very proud of myself. I went in looking for the navy blue fabric that's like this, and only bought two of these. And I got it because it's in the same family, right? It's going to complement the navies beautifully. I need a complementary color for that navy elsewhere inside this quilt. And I know I've got a lot of beautiful fabrics for this quilt, but it's a very scrappy quilt. One of the ways you accomplish a beautiful scrap quilt is by having a nice disbursement of your colors, your hues, and their contrast or complementary colors dispersed throughout the quilt and kind of evenly dispersed or intentionally bunched up. But if they work well value-wise and their hues are similar as well, or contrasting, complementary, or what's that, analogous, you know, there's just different ways to work with color, clearly. But if you can work with that knowingly up front, you have some of those same colors that work really well together, and then you disperse them in an intentional pattern. I think that's where your scrappy quilts are really successful. So I did pick up 2 of these little fat quarters. And while I was there, I spotted this one thinking, oh, I found it, that this was going to be the fat quarter, like what I was looking for. And it's not. And it's a brighter blue than what I went looking for. But that's okay. It's a nice blue. It'll get used. And it's the only true splurge that I didn't know exactly how I would use it. I think it would be a nice blue to go along with the navy that I've now ordered. I did find out the name of this is Dewdrops. So it's Wonder Lane is the series. It's called Dewdrops in the navy. And I don't know if they're calling this a pink or a red or burgundy or what they're calling that, but it's beautiful. Okay, so the only other thing I bought, and I'm telling you, I could have spent $50,000 today, clearly. Sometimes I say that and I'm exaggerating. But they had a Bernina, oh, I couldn't even look at it. They had a Bernina long arm in there. They've added that since I was in there last. Because they've had handy quilters over in one corner when you first walk in. It's over on the right-hand side. And I want one of those things so bad. But it's just not in the budget for quite a while. And it may not ever be. I don't know. So my next step is probably a Juki or a Janome or a Brother that has a larger throat space so I can put a quilt through it. So I can do larger quilts on my own. That's a little bit more doable than what I'm doing with this little Singer. I have no complaints over my Singer. It is just little. Its throat space is little. It's going to last me a long time. For just piecing, it's great. But to be able to quilt my comfort in the wading quilts or any of these other things, I have to just do a straight line stitching. And even that is frustrating when you've got a little bitty throat space. So at some point, I need to probably invest in one of the lower end sewing machines that's big enough that you can put a quilt underneath that throat space, a little bit bigger. And I think you can do that for $1,000, $1,200, $1,300, $1,400, $1,500, something like that. And that's probably my next step. Although I saw that Bernina, this warm glow is coming from it, and could just hear the angels around it singing. I don't mean to be overly dramatic. I don't think I am. It was pretty. Next time I have to go in and actually look at it because I wish I had. But I didn't want to tempt myself. I don't want to long for something that's outside of the realm of possibilities right now. I'm not saying ever, but right now I don't have to have it either. I've got a lot to learn before I get to the place where I need to learn how to fine-tune my quilting skills, my actual quilting skills. This is the piecing and the construction and all those kind of things I can pull off with this little Singer right now. Okay, with that said, so I did not spend $50,000, but I did buy a little packet of, they call these charm packets. Mini charms, because they're 2.5-inch squares. This is from Motive Fabrics, and it's called the Harvest Wishes by Deb Strain. And they're pretty. They've got little pretty pumpkins on them. And, I just think it'll be, if I want to just sit down one night and just piece these together, then I could have a pretty quick little easy quilt to give away for comfort in the waiting. And I might just do that some night. $4.99. I know it'll be very little, but if I added an additional 2.5-inch square from something else and just cut that up, then we can expand the size of this, right? This would make a 12 by 14-inch little doll quilt, which I think would be really cute to give it to a little girl. And I happen to know 1 or 2 of those. So maybe that would happen. Or I cut some other 2.5-inch squares, add to it, and let that quilt grow to something bigger. Or I save these to go inside something else. I don't know, but I feel like this is just kind of a therapy day, a therapy evening, when I want to be in here making something, but I don't want to think. And I just push this underneath the needle, and voila, at the end of the day, you got a little something built. There are worse ways to spend $5, right? So on this next part of the video, we're going to be talking about who has inspired me this week. And it's who I'm watching and who I'm reading. To start off this segment, I want to lead with something that just happened today. I had to take my dog into the orthopedic surgeon who did her surgery last month for her checkup, and scans came out fine. She's healing well. All is going well. She's an older girl, so it was not super easy, but she is doing well. Praise the Lord. We got the A+ and the gold stars on her patient report card. That's great. And then I ran to the quilt store real quick, and then I ran to my mother's. And my mother gave me something that had belonged to her mother. She was going through some photos as I was traveling into town. All these photos were showing up on my cell phone. And I was just excited because they're pictures of her great-grandparents. My mother will be 84 on the 5th of this month of February. And so these were pictures, good pictures of her great-grandparents. So they're my great-great-grandparents. And I now have a granddaughter. So they are her 4 times over great-grandparents. How cool is that we have wonderful pictures? As you know, I've said a few times, I watch on YouTube the channel called Who Do You Think You Are? And I'm so surprised with some of these people don't even know their grandparents. They don't know anything about the people who raised their parents. And I know the names, and I don't know them all in my head, but I have documentation, and I've spoken to people who know far back in my family history on both sides. And there was longevity on both sides, and everybody was interconnected, and everybody knows each other. And I didn't realize how special that really is. And so I'm glad for it. I did not know. What I was trying to get to is that my mother had decided to go through a stack of things that her brother had brought to her after their mother passed. She passed in 2016, but it was sometime later that he brought her some things that were earmarked for her that had come out of my grandmother's house. And this particular one just showed up today, and I found it quite interesting. It's about a quilter, and it's written by a lady that some of you, if you've been around for a moment or two, might know. Her name is Rosalind F. Manesse, Manesse. And it's kind of a poem. It's called A Quilter is Someone Who. I think this punctuates where I was wanting to go with our Friday videos, about celebrating the people in our lives who are passionate about the same thing, or passionate about some other thing that we can then channel into our craft or our passions. This lady, Rosalind F. Manesse, I looked her up because I started wondering, is this just somebody that my grandmother knew, or what the deal was? And I don't know who gave this to her or how my grandmother got this written up as it is in a bit of a calligraphy style. I did find her. The main point is, so she was a real woman. She had a blog. She died, I believe, in 2012, and she was born in the 30s, I believe. So she's older. Was older, and she was known in the quilting community. She'd written some articles, and she just was connected. She had friends, and people, I read her obituary, and there were quilting friends who only knew her online, but felt like they were her friend. That tells me what an online community can do. So when I tell you that these people that I am reading about and watching on YouTube, that they are my friends, believe me. They may not know me, but they're my friends because I invite them into my home. They hang out with me in my bedroom, or in my kitchen. They eat breakfast with me, and they do all the things. And they're so polite. They're never rude. Let me start at the top. The one I was just listening to was Zach Foster. He's new to me. He's a lovely soul. Seems like he's a very soulful person. He has a podcast, Seamside, I believe it's, yeah, Seamside. And the one I was just listening to was this latest one. It's called Silver Dollar Quilt. And I had to stop it to come talk to you. So I can't tell you what all it was about, but I was very intrigued about it. So he's one of the people that I've been listening to and I'm inspired by. Let's go to my history for this week. How do I get there? Here's my history for the week. Okay, so Zach Foster, Just Get It Done Quilts. I just watched her too. And I believe it's Karen Brown. Garden Answer. I know it's not quilting, but if you know Laura from Garden Answer, you understand how she can help to fuel your creativity. I watched Justin Rhodes. Has nothing to do with quilting whatsoever, but his motivation for creatively producing an income for his family, I do find that invigorating. So more Garden Answer. Motive Fabrics, they're doing a great job demonstrating how to put together the motive blockheads. I will become their #1 viewer here really soon as I get prepared to do the motive blockheads. A Quilting Life, I watch them on the regular. Erica Arndt, ARNDT, she's always a joy. She's very bubbly. I can consistently trust her for descriptions that I can follow without a lot of fluff and a lot of extra. She's going to get to the point without being abrupt or anything. So she just does a good job. That's all I'm trying to say. Pat Sloan, I try to watch her every morning. It's one of the first things I do. And let's see, these days I'm watching Dawn at the Lake, trying to watch those and make sure I like them well enough to keep them up. Amy Dement. I don't know if you know Amy Dement, but she's a joy. She is a real joy. She's energetic, very colorful, has purple hair, and always has a beaming smile and very jovial. She does a great job with her presentations, and I've learned things from her. She has an interesting way of organizing how she manages her quilts, and so I'm kind of channeling her a little bit as I'm trying to get in the groove with how I'm managing my workload here. Okay, this is off topic, but hospice nurse Julie, and she talks about death and dying. She's trying to make it not so scary. She does a pretty good job. The Quilt Show, cannot get enough of the Quilt Show. I love it. More motive blockheads, more Garden Answer, Pat Sloan. Oh, Pin Cut Sew. She stays really upbeat and I can learn well from her, so I like her a lot too. Okay, as I was looking for her name, I went to her community tab. And it's interesting, she's kind of did something that we're doing currently, and that's talking about how other people have inspired you. She is showing books by Gwen Marston. She's saying that Gwen Marston's books have really inspired her, that she is her quilting hero. That's pretty cool. Next on the list is Laundry Basket Quilt, Adita Sitarvely. She does a fantastic job. If you're ever down, you need to watch some Laundry Basket Quilts. She can perk you up. I watch a little bit of the Cottage Fairy every once in a while. She's always kind of good for just a sweet little, when you're having your tea break in the afternoon, she'll just kind of get you in the feels a little bit. She'll kind of recenter you. Okay, a new person to me, and I haven't watched but like 3 of her videos, and I'm ready to binge watch her. I think she's been running hers for a little bit now, not too terribly long, and has a successful channel already. Her name is Jessica Dayon, Dayon, and that's the name of her channel. So Jessica has a blog as well. Looks like she's consistently putting out videos. She's got a nice Bernina 770. I'm very jealous. She's doing a consistently good job. From what I recall from the little bit of her that I've watched, she's a good presenter, and I like that. She's pleasant and she's a good presenter. Tammy Ernest is one of the others that I watch. She's talking about, she's a long armor, and she talks about her own work that she's doing for other people. So you get to see their quilts, and she shows you the fabrics. And so you can use her channel as an opportunity to get to know these different lines of fabrics and just be inspired by how people are putting together their quilts. Fat Quarter Shop, of course. I think that's everything I've watched, all the different people that I have watched this past week. Oh, and Lori Holt, of course. Lori Holt. There's one other one that I've just found this week, and again, it has nothing to do with quilting, but it's called the Crappy Childhood Fairy. My goodness, she's got a fresh spin on all the different dysfunctional things that we all carry around from whatever stressors we had in our childhood. And I say it's refreshing because so much, all you hear is narcissist this, narcissist that, narcissist this. You see so much of that. I do in my feed. I think if you've ever Googled that word or watched one video about that, then everything about narcissism floods into your feed. So maybe that's why I think that. But she's got a unique perspective, and I find it very refreshing. Okay, that's it. I'm so inspired by those people. Just like my grandmother was clearly inspired by what this woman wrote and saved this, and it's still in good shape, right? Like this paper, my grandmother's been gone 8 years. She was 97 when she passed. Is that right? Yes, 97 and a half when she passed, 97 and a quarter. In this woman's later years, she was online, and somehow through her activities, she reached my grandmother. I don't know if it's because my grandmother saw her in a magazine, or she had a friend mention her, or what the connection was. But we all influence each other. I'm going to be hanging on to this. Let's look at what I'm reading, and then I'll let you guys go. I put my quilt, my new quilt fabrics in my little bag, keep them organized. I've got 3 things to show you. I'm so excited. This just came this week. And this month or this quarter, I forget, I think it's every 2 months they put out their new issues. Quilt Folk is on New Jersey this time. There's a couple in here that I can't, this lady, I started to read about her profile. Krishma Patel, Finding Her Focus. I can't wait to read about her. I liked how her modern style. She is interesting because she's an immigrant, and check that out. See, I like it. I like it a lot. And there's so many others in here. There's a gentleman in here who's got some unique things going on. So I can't wait to sit down and read all this. This I normally keep on my kitchen island so that whenever I'm stopping in the middle of the day to have my tea and reset, I can just, it's a light, easy read, right? It's profiles. And I love that style. In my previous life, I published a community newsletter that was pretty much similar to this. It was not as thick as this, but it was put out monthly. And we profiled people so that people could connect with each other. It was almost like Facebook in print. And that's kind of what this is. You get to see the pretty, it's Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest rolled up in print, beautifully curated together and presented in print. And so it just really speaks to me. I like getting to know people's personal stories. And then this one I bought, it's called the Perfect 10 Quilts. And it's not really so much one that you read, but I read the patterns. I want to see how, I have an ulterior motive for this book. I have a couple of them, and for all 3 books actually, that I want to see how people present patterns. That's one of the reasons I have bought the Quiltachusetts patterns that I'm showing you in some of the videos. They're one of the reasons I'm doing the Moda blockheads. One of the reasons that I'm doing the quilt shows block of the month. I want to see how people present their information because I want to do a book. I'll produce patterns at some point and they'll be in the book, but the book is not about just patterns. And that brings me to this next book I want to talk to you about. But this one is called Perfect 10 Quilts. And I thought it would be, if I'm going to be producing a lot of the comfort and the waiting quilts, it could get boring if I'm just doing the simplest, 4 square, 9 square, just doing it extremely easy. But I want to have some creativity to it and enjoy the process as well. And it's not only of selfish reasons. I want the people to feel like time and effort and love went into these quilts, not just, hey, I stitched together some fabric, here you go. I want to feel like it is just, they're being hugged by a bunch of love and they cuddle up with that thing. My impression of this book was that it was all beginner friendly, and I believe it is. So it walks me through how to put together some beginner quilts. I have went over 2 of Lori Holt's books too. And so if I take how patterns are presented here in Lori's, in this book and other books, it helps me to see how others are thinking. Not only am I learning about the construction myself, not only am I absorbing that information for my practical use, but it also helps me to think about how when I'm presenting things eventually, when I get to that point, what makes it easy to read, what information should have been added, what information is too much information. I'm a beginner quilter. If I want to be able to speak to beginner quilters, I am a perfect person for that, because I can read what is being presented now and say, hey, hang on a second, this needs this, or oh, that's beautiful. I love how you did that. Both things are going on there. And that brings me to this. This is beautifully done. See if you can see that. The Quilted Home Handbook. It's a guide to developing your quilting skills. It includes 15 patterns for items around your home. And it does that. And it does it beautifully. The paper feels good. It's not glossy. It just feels very warm and friendly and inviting. It's just very well done. Everything's curated in it. The stories, the how-to. If I were to do a book like this is how I probably would have done this. So she and I speak the same language. This is Wendy Chow. She's done a great job. And again, my book will not be anything like these books, but I can absorb pieces and parts from each of them and be inspired when I put together my book. My book will be about inspiring people, inspiring beginners, helping them to feel like this is a community that they can get into, that you don't have to wait for someone else to open a door. You can just come on in and sit down and be with us. This is one big happy quilting bee, and you're welcome at this party. That's what I want everybody to know. This is a learn with me kind of quilting channel, and that's what I want my book to be about as well. I want it to inspire people. All right, I think we're about to wrap things up. I want to say thank you to all the new subscribers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are appreciated very much. This is still a very new channel, and I welcome every one of you. And please share. Please tell your friends about this channel and help me to grow it. There's no telling where we're going to take this, but we're going to take it together. That's the plan. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I do appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.